sound of that tractor means it's time for us to go to work. Welcome to the Give Us the Dirt podcast powered by Apac Grading Company. My name is Brandon and I am your host. So we're doing something a little different today on the Give Us the Dirt podcast. In the studio with us today, we've got two industry legends with us. Combined, these men have nearly 100 years of service with one of the Southeast's leading contractors, Barnhill Contracting, based out of Rocky Mount, North Carolina. These two men have decided to hang up their hard hats, but before they clock out for the last time, they've agreed to spend some time with us and to give us the dirt. We have with us Lee Cooper, Executive Vice President of Barnhill Contracting and 50-year veteran of the company. We also have William Davis, Vice President and CFO at Barnhill with a little over 45 years of service at the company. And as I say that out loud, I can't help but think that most of our listeners, including myself, will struggle to even wrap our brains around that, only because it's something so rare that we simply have no frame of reference or context for that level of accomplishment. Tom Shannon, your VP of HR and Safety at Barnhill, said it best when he said, achieving 50 years in the workforce is quite an accomplishment. Achieving it at one employer is monumental. And I couldn't agree more. Gentlemen, it is truly an honor to have you in the studio today and to have the opportunity to dig into your stories and your very impressive careers. Welcome.
Thank you. We're glad to be here.
It was funny. So you got your arm twisted to come hang out with us today, huh?
Okay, that's right. And back to, being here 50 years and 45 years speaks a lot of the folks at Barnhill Contracting Company and the company we work for. Couldn't have been a better place to work and have a career and grow.
I can't wait to hear more about it. I know you guys have so many stories. There's no way we're going to be able to dig all that out in the time that we have, but I can't wait to get into it. One of the things that we do on the podcast is we ask you to introduce yourself in a unique way. So I am a firm believer that no man experiences the kind of success and longevity that you have without the love and support of an even more amazing woman. And so Betsy Davis and Donna Cooper have no doubt played a critical role in your success. How would they introduce you to a new friend that doesn't know who you are? So Lee, we'll start with you first. How would Donna introduce you to somebody that's never met you?
Donna would probably say that I'm a hard-working guy, man with pretty few words, not a whole lot of jibber-jabber talk and that kind of thing, I guess. And but she would think that I love people, and I love to take care of people, and I just enjoy and love the construction business.
Awesome. What would Betsy say about you?
I think Betsy would say that she made a good choice in picking her husband. We've been together for 53 years, so I've got a little bit of a longevity there. We both do, and she has been very patient with the time it took to do my work at Barnhill, and which was a lot of times, a lot of hours, but it was something I loved, and she knew that, and was very supportive.
That's can't do it without them.
Yeah, I tell you, and my wife has been with me. I tell our HR folks, and when we are hiring somebody this day and time, we probably ought to interview the wife, because if the wife doesn't understand what the construction business is, back in the early days, I was gone practically all the time, and wife raised two beautiful daughters, took care of everything, and allowed me to work. I don't think you can be successful in this business without a good mate. And, of course, mine's been 52 years also.
Wow, 52 and 53 years of marriage.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. But you're right. It takes a lot of sacrifice and a lot of support, and there's no way you can do it without that. So I wanted to give them a shout-out before we got started and telling your stories, because I know they're a huge part of them.
No question.
So we're gonna have fun. We're just gonna bounce back and forth between the two of you, because I wanted you guys to do this together. I didn't want to interview you separately. I wanted you guys to be able to experience this together. So we'll just bounce back and forth. But let's go back to the early years. Let's start back. Lee, where did you grow up? Where'd you go to school? And what is the first time that you can remember being introduced to the construction industry?
Okay, well, I grew up in a little town, Ware Shoals, South Carolina, and
What was that?
Named Ware Shoals, South Carolina.
Ware Shoals.
Down close to Greenwood.
Okay.
It's in Greenwood County, and I went to school. I went to Anderson Junior College at the time. It's Anderson University now, and then I went to Erskine and finished at Erskine over at Due West. And after I finished Erskine, I was hired by Burlington Industries and sent me to Tarboro, North Carolina to work in the textile business. So I worked in the textile business for about 6 years, and then I became friends. Bob Barnhill and I were in the National Guard together, and we became friends, and our wives became friends. And at the time, Barnhill Contracting Company was a real small company, and it was growing. And, Bob kept asking me, he said, you ought to come to work for Daddy, And I said, well, Bob, I got a good job here in the textile business. So I said, I don't know where I need to do that. Well, as time went on, I met his dad, and I really liked living in Tarboro. And I knew at some point in time, working for Burlington Industries, I'd have to leave there for a promotion or that kind of thing. So I decided to make the change, and it's kind of real interesting. Mr. Barnhill Sr. was a hard-working guy, and the little office there in Tarboro was about 6 or 7 rooms. So Bob told me, he said, you need to come, be about 9 o'clock tonight. You need to come down here to meet with Dad, and I want you to meet him and talk about it. So we sat down at a little table in the kitchen, and that's where he was making his supper, Mr. Barnhill Sr. And he said, and I said to him, well, Mr. Barnhill, I think I know something about the textile business, but I don't know anything about the construction business. He said, son, if you'll work, I'll teach you the construction business. So I decided to take the chance. It's the best opportunity. I've had an opportunity of a lifetime, and so I've really enjoyed it. But that was my first with the construction business. What I was hired to do was to be the safety director. At that time, OSHA law just came out, and Bob said we need to come up with a safety program. So I wrote our first safety program, and then from there I went to other things.
Well, I love that. That obviously he saw something in you that he could work with. He didn't care that you had no knowledge of the construction industry. He didn't care that you knew what they were doing. He saw something there, and he said, I need this guy on my team. I love that quote, though. He said, don't worry about that. I'll teach you the business.
That's right. That is exactly right.
That's great. What about you, William?
I grew up in Elm City, North Carolina, which is a little town between Wilson and Rocky Mount on 301. And at the time, my father had a motel in Elm City. And I grew up working with him, cleaning up rooms, taking ice to the guests at night. They would tip us. I thought it was a good deal at the time. I was making a lot of money. And I graduated from Elm City High School, which I think there were maybe 42 or 3 folks in my high school class. Most of them grew up on the tobacco by making a living raising tobacco in that industry. There was probably 3 or 4 of us in the class that wasn't their main source of income at the time. I wanted to farm, and so I went to NC State and got a degree in agriculture. And I came back home and I farmed a little bit. I worked at a tobacco warehouse for several years. And then I went back to school at Atlantic Christian College and got a degree in accounting. And I decided I could get a degree in accounting, and so if I didn't go in some kind of business on my own, it would always apply no matter what I went into. And I went to work after I graduated from Atlantic Christian with an accounting firm in Tarboro, and I worked there for about 4 or 5 years. And then I worked 1 year for Black & Decker, and which gave me some experience in cost accounting and so on, but not any in the construction industry. And then I kind of got to know Bob similar to what Lee did. Our wives were sort of a member of a group that got to be friends and so on, and they had an opening in the administrative area, I guess, and I came to work for Barnhill as the administrative manager. And they had probably a year or so before hired their first accountant, CPA, that was the controller at the time.
So that was 1977 for you?
That's correct.
And Lee, you were 72?
That's correct.
Okay. So tell me, what did the company look like back then? How big was the company?
In 1972, when I came, it was less than 100 people. And it was primarily a highway contractor. Had one small outfit in Tarboro, did private work, and one asphalt plant in Tarboro. But there was really primarily were a road contractor, and as I said, less than 100 people, but all top-notch people.
So,
and when I came in 77, it was still basically all highway with the one asphalt plant in Tarboro. And we did own a company, Cumberland Paving Company, that had, I believe, 5 asphalt plants at the time, but that was a wholly owned subsidiary. And I think we probably were doing in volume somewhere around $30 million a year. And of course, one of the things that happened right during that period of time, right after I came, was the gas crunch came along and shortage, which hurt bad the Department of Transportation's revenue stream, and so the volume of work was tough and hard to find at that time. We also, that year was the first year that we went into the GC building business and opened up that side of the construction operation.
So just to give our listeners some perspective on that, so at that time it was less than 100 people, one plant, and about 30 million. What does it look like today?
Well, we're up to $650-700 million in revenue now, and that's pretty well split somewhat equally between both sides of the business.
Unbelievable. How many people?
A little over about 1,000.
Wow. And plants?
There's 15 asphalt plants.
Incredible.
And
that's a lot of change.
On the way, and we're going to add 2 more, so it'll be 17.
Look at it, it's still growing. I love it.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, what I love about this, so Lee, you came in as safety director. Mm-hmm. William, you came in as administrative manager.
Right.
Obviously, your roles have taken on different shapes and looks over the last 45, 50 years. How do you go from, well, this is a loaded question, how do you go from safety director to executive vice president and CFO? You know what, as I read through your stories, you guys, you put on a lot of different hats. And you came into the business not really knowing what the need was going to be. It was safety at the time, but you, as a need came up, you just stepped into it. And William, you did the same. Talk to me about that evolution of where you started versus how you got to where you are now and taking on those different roles with the company.
Well, Barnhill Contracting Company has always been a close, low overhead company. So what we were given is different opportunities or different challenges. You know, I started off as safety director. It wasn't long. Bob said, "I want you to be the personnel director," and it wasn't. But about another 6 months, I want you to be the equipment manager. So I mean, I took on all of those, and in the meantime, getting around, being with Mr. Barnhill Sr., Bob, and all of our longtime employees, they taught us the business. So when opportunity come, we were ready to move to the next step. And then I got involved in the asphalt business, asphalt plants and learning how to erect them and manage that. And then as time went on, I was given, divisions to manage and that kind of thing. So we've had amazing growth. If you think about the acquisitions, I think we've had 7 acquisitions. And each one of those acquisitions added skill to our business. We got good people, we got good locations and all that kind of thing. So going through that, I mean, all of a sudden you'd be you'd gain 100 people. In fact, I think, William might correct me, but APAC, I think we got 250 employees at one time. So, but I tell you, the thing that I think has made Barnhill Contracting Company successful is we're best friends. Really? It's none of the VPs there was no politics involved in Barnhill Contracting Company. Wasn't any of us jockeying for position. We all had a talent, and we all put that talent together, and we all supported one another. If I had a financial issue, the best in the world I had right here beside me. And that's the same thing with like Alan Barnhill and Jimmy Hughes and those individuals that are managing, and even down to our each division manager are top-notch people. And that's been the success of Barnhill Contracting Company.
I think that's so great. I'm glad you brought that up because that in itself is rare, right? To having an executive team that not just understand each other's gifts and skills and how they complement one another, but you're friends. You guys were friends before you started. You were friends here, at the end of your careers. That's got to be tough. How do you do that and maintain those friendships? I guess a lot of it is it's no ego, right? It's no one cares who gets the credit. You're all chasing the same mission. And Bob and Mr. Barnhill Sr. were very good at that, and nobody was better than anybody else. And when we worked on something, we worked for it with what was good for this company, not what's necessarily the best for that individual, because ultimately it would work out and everybody would benefit from what we did. And we were all good friends, and we made what we did work in most cases. So that came from the Barnhills. You guys have worked for now, I guess, 3 generations of Barnhills.
That's correct.
It sounds like you never, did you ever feel like, have they ever made you feel like, because your last name wasn't Barnhill, that you weren't just as important?
I always felt like I owned Barnhill Contracting Company.
That's what
I felt the same way. And Mr. Barnhill used to say, it's not my company, it's our company. And he was very emphatic about that. And Barnhill is a family. Yep. It is a family business, and we are all family. I don't care from the bottom to the top. We all jump in there. If something needs to be done, we jump in there and get it done.
You know what? And I knew enough about it to feel comfortable asking that question because I know the company and I know how much the family cares about the people. So I felt comfortable asking that because I knew what you were going to say. But they have treated everyone, you guys, and everyone else like family.
That's right.
That's right.
So that's incredible. Yeah. William, what about you? So you come in as accounting manager and end up as, I'm even fascinated by the fact that you wanted to go back and get your accounting degree working at the tobacco farm. What made you want to do that?
Well, I felt like that if I'd have gone into farming big time, I'd have had to borrow a bunch of money. And I've always been sort of opposed to that. So I just thought at the time I had the opportunity to do it. So I went back to school and got my accounting degree. And then, like I say, I went to work for a CPA firm, and I ultimately passed the CPA exam. And that would have worked in any industry. And I was fortunate that I ultimately wound up at a local company. I wanted to stay in the area, and I was just lucky that I found a company that was growing, and it was just a great place to work, and with great people.
Yeah, as I read through some of your stories, Lee, you come in with no experience. William, you were pretty new out of school and into this business as well. Both of you end up being experts in your space. And, you know everything there is to know about asphalt plants. And you become part of the strategic direction alongside of your friends and executive leaders at the company. William, you become an expert in contracts and real estate. Those are some big pieces, but you guys have learned that over the last 45 and 50 years. You've done it together.
That's right.
And when you saw a need, you just moved into it.
That's right.
That's exactly right. And I tell you, going through these acquisitions was a real learning situation for each one of to be able to take them on and bring those people into the Barnhill family and treat them just like they had been Barnhill, and that's been really part of our success. And I tell you, working for 3 generations of Barnhills, all 3 of them are different. There's no question about that. All 3 of them, but they're all 3 have got the same business philosophy. They all 3 take care of people and family. This is a people business. Anybody can get iron. Anybody can learn how to put up an asphalt plant. You got to be able to lead people, and we have had great leadership at Barnhill Contracting Company, and I think it's been our success.
I think so too. It's nothing to go out and make an acquisition. It's the integration of the companies and bringing them into the fold and getting each other to adopt that culture.
That's right.
And that's been true, I think, with our whole management team when I've been there as it's grown. We all work together. We all bounce ideas off of each other. We argue with each other, but we don't fall out about it. Mm-hmm. And we hopefully we've been fortunate that we made some good decisions. And I had a lot of help too. There was a gentleman that named Ed Mooring that was the independent accountant for the company since its beginning, and he was very knowledgeable about construction accounting and was a real help in helping me learn the business, and so I could sometimes challenge him, and we had a wonderful relationship. And over the period of time too, I got involved with the insurance side of the business and sort of made that my a big part of what I needed to know to go along with the safety side. But it was the buying of insurance and trying to make sure that we had coverage in the right areas and so on, and I studied that a lot and had a lot of good brokers that were good to work with that helped a lot in that area too.
I tell you, I think one thing that's been really instrumental for Barnhill Contracting Company is changing of command from generation to generation. From Mr. Barnhill to Bob, in fact, we were very fortunate for Mr. Barnhill to live a long life, and Bob grew. When Mr. Barnhill passed away, it was seamless. We never missed a beat. The same thing, the transition that Bob has made to Rob. Rob has been, we've carried Rob through, all of us have mentored Rob, spent lots of time with him and that kind of thing. Now his dad is, now the transition is a seamless transition. I think that's so important for a family-owned business to not have any squabbles in the family and for a smooth transition. And I think we have done a really good job of that.
And I love that you guys were so instrumental in developing Rob and getting him ready for this opportunity. And I know he would give you credit for that too. Yes, what would you say are the biggest differences between the 3 of them?
Well, Mr. Barnhill was a nuts and bolts guy, construction guy. He was like, we got to get it done, guys. We all day. He really loved the outside end of the business. Bob was a businessman. Bob organized the company so the company could grow. He was a real businessman. Rob is a detail man. Rob's a spreadsheet man. That's what the days are. It's that kind of thing. Not that any of them's wrong. It all has its place. But what you got to do, and what they are all good at, is getting people that could supplement what they didn't have, and that's what they've done.
And that's interesting that you talked about that, because each of them, it sounds like each of them had the gifts and skills for what the company needed at that day and time.
That's correct.
Right. And for Mr. Barnhill, it was we got to get it done. And then Bob comes in, and he's the one that's going to scale the organization. He knows how to grow it. And then Rob come in. How do you manage a $700 million company? And it's getting into the details and really understanding all of it.
That's correct. That's a good analysis of it.
Hey, so you guys talked about, I cannot imagine all the deals you've been a part of, all the strategic decisions that you've made together as a team. What's the one that sticks out to you as the one that you're most proud of?
To me, it's the Apac acquisition.
Tell me about that one.
Well, that was the biggest acquisition we made, and it was, we spent lots of hours and time trying to make that work, and we didn't think it was going to work, and it did work. And then being able to bring that into our organization like we did, that was, I think that was a challenge. And that meant so much to Barnhill Contracting Company. That was a big growth because there was like 10 or 12 asphalt plants involved in that acquisition, strategically located, and as well as a really good group of people. So that was a home run for us.
When was that, Lee?
That was in 2006, right, William?
Right.
I think it's
Okay.
2006.
Yeah, and we doubled. I think we had 9 asphalt plants at the time, and after we made that acquisition, we had 18 operating asphalt plants.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
Double.
and so that was a real learning experience for all of us, contract wise and everything else, of getting that deal done, and it was a good deal for us.
Would you say that was the one you the most proud of? Would you share that one, or is it a different one?
I would say so. I mean, that was the biggest by far and the most complicated.
Yeah, I cannot imagine going through that.
And Bob Barnhill had rather do a deal than anything else he'd rather do, and he is excellent at doing it, no matter what he's doing.
What was his? When you say that, what was it? Was it his negotiation skills? Was it his ability to really value the?
Some of all of it.
Yeah,
He's just
gifted.
he is excellent at negotiating.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say?
I agree with that 100%.
He loves it. He loves it.
Yeah, you ain't gonna beat him negotiating, and you're not gonna beat him as a businessman. He sees the big picture. That sometimes we didn't see the big picture, but he always saw the big picture.
Well, he definitely saw it when he recruited both of you guys to come, didn't he? He saw the value there before you guys.
And
did.
a lot of other ones that he recruited
That's right.
too. That was just
That's correct.
Just as good as us.
Yeah.
That acquisition is absolutely something that you should be proud of. To go through that and to do it successfully as you guys did is no doubt a huge accomplishment. Over the last 45, 50 years, like I can't imagine you go through that long of a career and not have moments that you say, I wish I had that one back. Lee, what is there a time that you say, hey, I wish I had a mulligan on that one. I wish I had a do-over on that one. What is something that maybe you regret or?
Well, I tell you the truth, I really can't think of any regrets I have. It's been some tough times of things. I think I guess the main thing that I would say is that sometimes I didn't have enough time to spend with the employees that I wanted to because I was so busy doing. As I got more responsibility, then I was less time with the employees, and that was kind of my cup of tea with the employees. And I missed not being able to do that. If I guess I had any regrets, if I could go back and do it, maybe I would be able to manage better to be able to spend more time with employees.
Well, kind of along the same line of what Lee says, I can't think of anything that we did that necessarily. We probably did some things that weren't as good as others, but I don't think we ever did a real crash other than maybe we got some jobs once in a while that weren't so good, and we avoided that most of the time. But the thing I think that, well, I don't have a regret, I don't think, of anything that really sticks out that we didn't kind of make work.
What a blessing to be able to be at this stage of your career and to say, there's not a moment that we really, we learned from a lot of them. We didn't get it right every time, but no regrets in that. What a blessing.
Yeah.
I tell you, and I think we talk about these acquisitions, and they were really important to our company, is the reason we were able to do some of these because of the reputation of the Barnhills and the Barnhill Contracting Company. I'll tell you a couple of little stories. Cumberland Paving Company in 1973, the Cumberland Paving Company, Mr. F.D. Klein, who was the grandfather of asphalt in North Carolina, came to Mr. Barnhill and said, my health's failing, all these big companies want to buy me, but I don't want them to have you. I want you to have this company because you'll take care of employees. And so he went and did. Same thing with Oscar Miller in 1985. Oscar Miller said the same thing. All these big companies want to buy, but Robert, come up here. I want you to have this company because I know you'll take care of your employees. And I think a lot of that, when we think about the acquisitions that we did and that kind of thing, and I tell you, no, and APAC was important, but when we made the Northeast, Outer Banks contracted and was operating in the Northeast, and they went bankrupt. We tried to buy it, but couldn't. So we ended up buying pieces. We ended up buying all the pieces. But that was a fantastic acquisition for us too. And to put all that back together and go through what all you go trying to buy something in bankruptcy was a living experience for all of us. So those kind of things I think were really good for our company.
Well, that speaks highly of the reputation and the people there. You're right. It's one thing to have the resources to make an acquisition. It's another thing to be the person that they come to and want to take over the business. They were seeking you out because they wanted their people to be taken care of, and they knew that you guys would do that.
Yeah. I tell you, cool. Another thing too that I think is very important is Bob strictly himself started the building business. And the building business is a very important part of our company right now. And Bob had decided, said, "Daddy, we got all our eggs in grading and paving. We need to diversify." And so he started, and we struggled with it, no question, to get it started. But I think that was Bob as a businessman looking ahead, looking for the growth of the company,
wanting to diversify.
That's
make
right.
sure that you're protected from it.
That's correct.
Well, so. To go through the careers that you guys have, one of the greatest compliments that you could ever get, I would believe, being in your spots, would be the people that you've developed and the people that you've helped to get to achieve their dreams and to have great careers. I was reading through the newsletter, and it said, did I read that it's going to take 3 people to replace you? Is that? Did I read that right?
I don't know where it's going to take 3 people to replace me, but it's going to 3 people to do what I was doing.
And you had a few people on your side too that it was like, all right, stepping into their roles are going to be this person, this person, this person. Yeah. So I thought that was pretty cool. But those are people that you've had a hand in developing. Talk to me about your teams. And talk to me about how proud that must make you that now they're going to get those opportunities.
Well, I'll do that first. I have 3 people that, one of them, Will Apac, who has taken my role, and he's been with us for 10 years. And we're very fortunate, very smart, very capable, and I've taught him everything that I can teach him, so he's on his own now. But I feel real good that in my leaving, he can handle it, and he wants to be in the area, and loves living in Tarboro. But I couldn't feel any better about that. And he has a young assistant controller now. That is he's been a CPA about 3 or 4 years. Very smart, very capable guy. That there's a good longevity there. And then I've had some excellent ladies that work for me that are very dedicated, and they have now been given an opportunity to grow, I think, more. So that's one reason I was ready to retire. But I also felt like that there was a very capable group there to come in and take over that. And then we've also got Bill Long, who has taken over the IT portion of it. And not that I did that directly. I had a man before him that worked for me but was an expert in IT, was Scott Fisher, who was with us for a long time too. Very dedicated to Barnhill and very dedicated to getting us and keeping us where we needed to be. So I feel real good about that generation coming in now. And there again, it was time for me to retire, and it was time for me to get out of their way and let them do what they want to do. And hopefully what would be a a tribute to me is how successful they are.
Absolutely.
That they are ready.
And that's got to give you so much joy to see them and to them to get that opportunity. What about you, Lee?
Yeah, well, I tell you, Justin Barnhill is the equipment manager, and of course now we promoted him to VP of equipment and asphalt plants. And I've spent a lot of time teaching him about asphalt plants and equipment. Very smart young man. He's Alan Barnhill, who's our senior vice president's son. So he's been involved in the construction business a long time. And David Glover, who looks after our quality control and environmental and that kind of thing. And then I had personnel under me, Tom Shannon, our personnel VP for years. Jimmy Hughes retired last year. So, and we were able to promote Tom from inside. So kind of help get Tom on his feet. And Skip Partington, who is training to take Alan's place, I've kind of helped get him in the asphalt business and get him fixed and that kind of thing. So I've spent a lot of time with those guys. They're all smart guys. They bleed Barnhill red, and they're ready to go. After you train for so period of long, you got to get out of the way. Now, did I want to retire? No, I want to work forever. But do I need to retire? Sure, I need to retire. I was just joking about that. It was the right time. I'm 78 years old. I've worked there 50 years, and to be able to do the things I have and have a health and a mind at this hour, I'm very, very fortunate, and I'm very appreciative of the opportunity. And we got a great team to take my place.
That's that says a lot. That after 50 years, you still didn't want to stop. You wanted to keep going. So, what does retirement look like for you guys? What does it look like for you?
I've been working in my yard for 5 hours a day for about 6 weeks, so that's going to play out soon. So I used to play golf, but I hadn't done that, so I'm going to start back doing that and spend some time with my church. Spend more time there doing things for my church and that kind of thing. And spending time, it's kind of nice. If I want to go to lunch, I want to ride to Raleigh and see my children and grandchildren, go to lunch and that kind of thing. All of that's kind of nice that I've never had the opportunity to do. I never took the opportunity to do.
Yeah. What about you, William?
Well, I've got a little farm that I quit farming and turned into a bird hunting operation that is for me and whoever I want to invite out there. And I spend a lot of time out there trying to propagate that and growing some crops for the birds, and I release the birds, and I've got one bird dog that I like to, I just like bird hunting. And I guess part of my history too at Barnhill, I sort of got Bob started into that, which he has taken to a much expanded level from what I do, but that's a lot of fun. I enjoy doing it, and I can kind of do it at my own pace. And it's good exercise. I'm getting better exercise right now than I have for the last 20 years. So hopefully that will extend my life a little longer, and so on. But I'm reasonably active. I work in my yard too. And
well, that's a great idea. That gives you the opportunity to work and play right there at the farm, and so you don't have to travel. You get to do the best of both worlds. And,
yep.
I tell you one thing. The reason it's hard to retire. Barnhill Contract Company is a fun place to work. We all have fun. We all have a great relationship. Not to say that, things don't get sour sometimes, obviously, but overall, it's a fun place to work. I never saw a day that I didn't look forward to going to work at Barnhill Contract Company.
What an incredible thing to say. I mean, that you look forward to going to work each and every day, that you enjoy it, even after 50 years of doing it.
I did.
That's incredible. I'm intrigued by both of your stories. I'm amazed and inspired by both of you. There were, even though you guys had very different skill sets and different paths there in the company, there were some common themes when I was looking through both of your stories. And now I understand why. You guys have been the best of friends through the whole thing, but both of you were always willing to learn new things and take on new responsibilities. You never got blinders on, and you never said, all right, I'm going to stay in my lane. You were willing to jump in and take on whatever needed to be done at the time. And I thought that was really cool theme that you guys shared. The other thing is I can tell that both of you are all about the people. It's not about the numbers. It's not about the scale. It's not about the size. It was about the people. And even when you were talking about the regrets, that was about the people, that you didn't get to do more of that. Your loyalty to 3 generations of Barnhills is inspiring. And then this culture. And, you talked about these acquisitions, and you guys have built this culture. Like this wasn't a culture that was handed to you. You guys have been instrumental in building that culture and preserving it over the years. And to do that with all the acquisitions and all the growth that you've had is phenomenal. That's hard to do. And so hats off to both of you for doing that. I want you to look into a crystal ball a little bit, and I want you to think, what do you think Barnhill looks like in the next 20 years? What do you guys, you're passing the torch. What does it look like 20 years from now?
Let me say one thing before you leave. The people thing, you are never any better than the people that work with you and for you. And that attitude, I think, is what's very instrumental in Barnhill's success. I think Barnhill will continue to grow. There are a lot of very good people being put in new positions. There's sort of a transition going on, and I think the people that I know that are coming into the division vice presidents and the positions that are being filled are very capable, very smart folks, and I think they will be very successful as long as they work with the same attitude with each other that we have been fortunate enough to work with.
More growth. Keep growing. More plants just southeast? What do you think?
Well, I think you got to grow. You either grow or you die. So I think our company will continue to grow. I think we'll look at smart acquisitions or maybe even greenfields to grow in certain areas. I also see the company as getting more technology. I think our company is a little bit behind, and we don't have any simulators. We probably ought to have some simulators, and we are talked about that a bunch. I think that we're going to have to do more training than we've ever done before, and we got to do a better job of it. I think we do mandatory training very well, but we got to be training the next generation of operators. We got to figure. We say we can't get any people. Everybody says we can't get any people. Well, what are we doing to get more people? What we got to do in this business is get the pool up. If Barnhill trains X amount of folks, ST Wooten trains X amount of folks, they might swap places, but they'll be out there. There'll be a pool of operators out there, whereas now the pool has gone down and we need it. So I think but that's the secret right now. You can't take any more work than you can do. Yep. That's the worst thing that you can do is bid work and not have people do it. So if we're going to grow, we gotta go train more people, and we got to do a better job of that. And we got to get more technological. That's what I see.
Well, you hit the nail on the head, and that's the whole reason that we do this podcast, is because we can no longer sit back and say there aren't people that want to do this business. That's our fault. Right? We have to change the narrative. We have to tell the story. We've got to show the technology. We got to show the success. We got to show the career paths and how great of a career you can have in this industry. That's on us to do that. So thank you guys for being part of that and sharing that today. What do you see? I want to go back to the technology, because I can only imagine how different that is than it was in 1977 and 72. You started, William, and you said that there was one computer when you started? There
was a computer that had one operator at the time. And so in that side, in our IT side, we have probably stayed up reasonably well on accounting, job costing, and that's even going through more transitions that will be more access for people using it and so on. I think the technology that Lee's talking about, not to take words out of his mouth, but is going to be on the operation of equipment. I mean, you probably see the time that you may run scrapers out there with no operator on them, and somebody sitting in an office somewhere running those things. Yep. And our industry for the construction industry in the grading and highway side has got to become, I think, more attractive to younger folks. You know, it just, as an industry, we've got a lot of people in our industry that are like Lee and I are aging out, and we haven't done as good a job probably as we should have as an industry of getting younger folks interested in doing it.
I was going to ask you concerns for the industry. You know, what are your biggest concerns for our industry as a whole? And that's probably one of them. You know, finding that next generation.
I think we got to be more family friendly. You know, I was telling you, back when I was coming along, I was gone all the time. My wife raised 2 kids. You know, she did everything. That's not going to happen today. We're going to have more people to do the same amount of work. You know, you can't ask a guy to work 6 days a week for 6 months at a time without him having a break. And you got to, he's got to go to the soccer games, and he got to go to baseball games, and he's got to go. That kind of was unheard of in the old days, but that's where we are today. And I think that's one reason. If we drive these young people so hard, they're gonna leave you. So you got to figure out how to make it balance with what they're doing. It's like I said, the construction business is a fun business. They'll all tell you, man, I like my job, I love it, but I can't work 70 hours a week. You know, I just can't do it. You know, if I do that, my wife's going to leave me, and my kid's going to leave me, and that kind of thing.
And
so I think things we got to do.
And you said it. I think you said it best. Is that you were asking we got to figure out how to do that. I think you figured it out. You've got to hire more people to do the same amount of work. You can't do less work.
That's right.
The client still is going to demand the same thing.
That's right.
You've got to build a bench.
That's right.
And you've got to have time for people to go and spend time with their family, people to go train. You can't pull people off equipment to go train if you don't have someone to run the equipment. So you've got to hire up and fill that bench.
That's right.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Any concerns for the industry you have, William?
Nothing except what I said there. I think it's going to take. We got to get a new generation, we got to be more attractive to the younger generation, and there are folks out there that'll work if we can get them attracted to the industry and they get into what they're doing. I know when I came to work at Barnhill, I might not have come had I realized over the years it would have taken the hours that it took for me to do my job. Maybe I was slower than some other folks, but you get involved in what you're doing and you love doing it, and you don't mind the time, or you make it work. But as Lee said, though, it's a different world as far as what opportunities are for folks out there now too. So this also got to be competitive with other industries that we are attracting good, smart folks.
Yeah, right. I agree. Well, I could do this all day, but I know you guys can't because. I want to end with a couple different things. I want you to talk to a couple different audiences here. First, I want you to talk to that young person that's getting ready to start their 45-year or 50-year career in construction. What would you say to them? What is the thing that you want them to know that you wish you had known when you started? What advice would you give them?
Well, first I would tell them if they want to come to the construction business, it's hard work. We can't change that it's hard work, and it's always going to be deadlines. It's going to be weather deadlines. It's going to be, this happens, that happens. Owner wants you to accelerate the schedule, all of those kind of things. That's going to be in this business. That's not going to change. What we're going to tell them is if you'll come in here and work hard and learn this business, we're gonna make it so you enjoy working here, and we're gonna make it so you can enjoy your family and those kind of things. I think that's what we got to do.
So the advice you would give them is you can do both. You can have a great career, but you can also enjoy the time with your family. You don't have to sacrifice those things. And
that's exactly what I'd say.
Yeah. What about you, William?
The advice I would give anybody that's starting out is to find what they love to do, and they will be successful if they love what they're doing. And I know Barnhill Contracting Company is an excellent place for people to reach their goals as long as they work hard and do what they need to do. But if you don't love what you're doing, you need to work somewhere else.
Love what you do.
Exactly right.
Love what you do. It sounds like both of you guys absolutely loved what you did.
And I don't think we need to end this podcast without mentioning it. You got to be profitable. You got to, at the end of the day, the company's got to make a profit. So whatever job you're doing, you got to do that to the best of your ability and as cheap as you possibly can do it, and so the company can make a profit, because if the company can't make a profit, it can't do anything. So that's the end of the game. I think sometimes people think profit maybe is a nasty word, but I don't think profit's a nasty word. You can't do it all if you don't make a profit.
Absolutely. If you want a good place to work, you want to have a job that you enjoy doing and provide for your family, the company's got to make money.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair.
That was a very good comment for a non-accounting financial man, wasn't it?
Hey, you've done well. You taught him.
Yeah, William taught me well.
It took 45 years, but you taught him. Well, so the last thing I want to do is I want to give both of you a platform on this podcast to say thank you, because I can only imagine that there are some people that you would love to say thank you. You guys remember Don Moe at Martin Marietta?
Yeah, I do.
Don Moe, when he retired, I remember he said in his left-hand drawer, he kept a list of all the people that he wanted to thank when he retired. And then in the right-hand drawer, it was a list of all the people he was going to tell to kiss his ass. And so I'm not going to let you talk to those people, but the people that you would love to thank, just talk to them for a minute and just use this opportunity to do that. If for those people that you'd love to thank. And that's so many people. I'll be here all day if I thank everybody that's helped me at Barnhill Contract. But first of all, I thank the Barnhill family. Mr. Barnhill Sr., Bob, and Rob for giving me an opportunity of a lifetime. I don't know anywhere that I could have gone and had a better career than I've had at Barnhill Contracting Company. I like to thank all the, Alan Barnhill's a close friend of mine, and we've been through a lot together. Jimmy Hughes, who retired, William, Bob and Rob, and just all the mechanics and operators, superintendents and foremen that have taught me so much. I used to, when I was first in this business, I'd get around a superintendent, and I was a safety guy, but I'd say, kind of tell me what that stake means there. Show me on the plans and how you put it on the ground there, and those kind of things. All those people, I can name you numbers of them that really were instrumental in my career. And the other thing is all the fine, vendors and suppliers, all the guys with Gregory Poole, Martin Marietta, Hanson, all those guys were really instrumental in helping me develop things. So I've just had a wonderful career with wonderful people, and I thank every one of them.
Okay. I think I mentioned earlier several people that would obviously be on that list, and I'd like to add to that. I had two great ladies that worked with me, Sophia Hardy and Laurie Webb, who were instrumental in helping us get things done in the office. And I left two great people there right now, is Amy Harvey and Jennifer Taylor, who were great folks too and are good assets for Barnhill Contracting Company. I think one of the things that Mr. Barnhill Sr. Helped with, in my experience, is if I did something and did the best I could do, and as it turned out, was maybe the best we could do. He always appreciated the effort, and you didn't always win every battle, but you did the best you could with it, and you got it done. And that stuck goes a long ways.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming and talking to us today. I know the Barnhills cherish the both of you. They wanted to be able for you to be able to share your story so that story can live on and be heard from generation to generation. You guys have been instrumental, not just to Barnhill Contracting, but to the industry. And so hearing your stories and seeing the success that you've had and how you've done it with just focusing on the people and focusing on the right things is inspiring to me and to a lot of other people that I'm sure are going to hear this too. So thank you guys so much for what you've meant to this industry and to all of us that are trying to make a living in it.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Give Us the Dirt. Our podcast is powered by Apac Grading Company in Charlotte, North Carolina, and produced by Well Run Media and Marketing. Visit our website at giveusthedirtpodcast.com and subscribe to this podcast on Apple and Google so you never miss an episode.